I'd like to open the hearing. Tonight is Tuesday, the January 9th, 2024, at 7:07 p.m. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Cohasset, and I'd like to call it to order. We have two very small, I consider small administrative issues, one of which is to approve the November 7th meeting minutes. November 7th minutes were really concerned very narrowly about Articles 4 and 5, and we met on those. Montana's, my estimation, summary is I had no changes. But how does the board and my colleagues on the board feel?
I had a look at the meeting minutes. They seem to track to my recollection pretty well. I don't have any problems.
Lee?
I have no changes. I read them.
Yeah, and Charlie? You're muted, Charlie, so we can't really tell. Your video's off, at least on my screen. Well, I'll give Charlie a couple seconds, but to unmute himself. But otherwise, we do have a quorum, 3. So I'd make a motion to approve the November 7th meeting minutes as drafted.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor, Woody Chidick, aye.
Lee Darst, aye.
Michael Dickey, aye.
Matt Watkins, aye.
Okay, approved 4-0. The next small administrative issue is the next meeting, which is the first Tuesday of February on the 6th. Does anybody have a known conflict?
On the left, down below.
No, I do not.
Okay.
I'm good. So Charlie, do you have any conflicts on the 6th of February, or could we vote to approve that?
I just have conflicts with the video.
Oh, well,
We can see and hear you now.
Really, if you're over 70, you get a pass on some of this, I'm sure. And you qualify, so do I. Okay, so I'd make a motion to set February 6th coming up as our next meeting date. All in favor, aye? Oh, well, it's seconded. Lee, you seconded it, I'm sure you.
Yeah, that's
In
fine.
your heart. And okay, Woody Chidick, aye.
Charlie Higginson, aye.
Lee Darst, aye.
Michael Dickey, aye.
Okay,
Matt Watkins, aye.
great. And the other, so that's a 5-0 approval. And Charlie, I don't know if you were on the audio a couple of minutes ago, but I would propose that we very slightly shift the hearing around to save the client at 94 Black Horse Lane that have applied.
I heard that.
Withdraw. Okay, for 3 appeals, a denial of building permits because they are involved and have an agreement, John, I believe. Is that correct? An agreement with the definitive subdivision plan?
Yes, they did come to agreement with the planning board. They issued a decision, I believe, and so they are all set with their denial.
Okay, well, I'd make a motion then that since this would be moot, having I think a satisfactory and proper, a wise decision about a subdivision, that we accept the applicant's request to withdraw 94 Black Horse Lane Lot D. I'll merge them. 94 Black Horse Lane Lot E and 94 Black Horse Lane Lot A. Request for withdrawal. I would make a motion to grant that request.
It might be lot 7A.
7A, did I say 7A? Okay, sorry, I beg your pardon. 7A. Yes, you're right. Thank you for catching that.
Seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, Woody Chidick, aye.
Charlie Higginson, aye.
Lee Darst, aye.
Michael Dickey, aye.
Matt Watkins, aye.
Okay, great. So that's taken care of, and we'll get that off the agenda. The other small or smallish is we've gotten a request for a continuance and 31 Bow Street, which we didn't hear at our last hearing anyway, because it also requested continuance there, and I think it's a Conservation Commission, kind of primary stakeholder in this. I would make a motion to approve the request of the applicant to continue that hearing.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of 31 Bow Street to continue the submission? Woody Chidick, aye.
Charlie Higginson, aye.
Lee Darcey.
Michael Dickey, aye.
Matt Watkins, aye.
Okay, and the last small piece of administrative business, and if otherwise we'll just get started with or without Dave, is that we're going to have three hearings tonight. Continuance in 34 Stockbridge, 87 Pleasant Street, which is new, and 4 Great Brewster Trail, which is new. I'd like to, thanks to Montana, who reminds me, we should make decision assignments prior to these hearings. I'm more than happy to do any of the three.
Well, I think you already volunteered for 34 Stockbridge before.
That's what I thought too, but I
I-
wasn't sure.
I
Anyway,
can do 87 Pleasant.
I'll take that. Okay, 87 Pleasant is Lee, and Matt, Charlie, and Mike, you know who did the last decision to do. Mike, you did a decision, didn't you?
Yeah, I did one pretty recently.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I just did 15 Brook, which was the most recent one.
Okay, and Charlie.
Okay, I'll do that. If
All right, four Great Brewster Trail. Okay, that way we'll be attuned.
Where is Great Brewster Trail? I couldn't-
It's do you know where Jackie Clark lives? The Highland Avenue and that little one-way street now near the Episcopal Church and
Right next to the town hall, Charlie.
it goes right up the road up into Great Brewster Woods.
Yes, okay.
And number 4 is on the right-hand side, as you go up toward the public property up there.
Okay. Because it isn't recorded in the map of town of Cohasset.
Yeah, I got a little bit confused. I got confused between number 4 and number 5, but I'm sure the homeowners in number 5 think I'm a little strange because I was looking around their property and it sure wasn't matching the map I had. But at any rate, so you've got 4 Great Brewster Trail. It's a small house. We'll open that hearing in a bit. But I would like to open the hearing or continue the hearing on 34 Stockbridge Street. We've met a couple of times. They have new submissions. Mine are dated December 29th. I believe, Montana, those are the most recent plans. So who's going to represent? Are the Casemeyers representing themselves, or are they going to be represented by their architect or whomever? Or
Christopher's here, and I'm pulling him now, and then I'm also pulling in the Casemeyers.
okay.
Yeah, and by the way, David said he's still on the road, so
Oh, okay. I'm sure the driving is not, ideal, so. But having sat on this, Dave is allowed one missed meeting as long as he catches up on whatever transpires tonight. So, okay, so we have here Chris D'Orsay, and are you representing the Casemeyers, I gather?
Yes, I'm Chris D'Orsay, the architect at Campbell Smith, and I'll be here for the Casemeyers. And I think
Okay.
they're also online as well.
They are indeed, and are welcome.
Yes, we are here.
Well, you're welcome to chime in whenever you feel like it. I guess to start off with, I've got 2 questions. One, I had a little bit of a hard time perhaps figuring out what changed from the beginning of the month to the end of November to now in terms of your plans. I would like to hear it from you rather than try to speculate.
Yeah, I'd be happy to show you, and I just need to share my screen.
Sure. And Montana, can you promote him to do that?
You should be all set.
Okay, you should be seeing the title page, which you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I will show you this go through this quickly and then maybe show you the 3D image, which will be helpful. So we have limited a portion of this addition to a single story, which will fall below 15 feet of the average grade. And the second floor extension, I should say, by the way, the triangle extension on the left of the house is the same. It's the same since we first presented in November. It's the area on the right that is different this time. So if we look at the second floor, this small darker blue square is the non-conforming portion above 15 feet that we are proposing. And essentially, we have no second story that is not above an existing first floor structure. So anything that's going on the second floor is going above an existing non-conforming portion of the existing building. That being said, we are enclosing the existing deck with a roof and a porch, which is partially over the side setback line. And that is this purple stretch right here on the right-hand side. So in the top left corner is the front elevation. Here you can see our new second floor addition, but it is not extending past the side setback. It is only extending past the rear setback. So if you look to the right, this is the right elevation. This new gable here, a portion of this new gable extends past the rear setback line, but over an existing single floor shed, which is also currently non-conforming. The rear elevation, you can see the portion of our second floor addition, which is extending into the rear setback. And then our single story under 15 feet enclosure of the deck here on the side setback. And then on the bottom right drawing, the left elevation, this is the triangular sliver that has remained the same for all of the versions that you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
This is the floor plan. Quarter scale elevations. Site plan. And here are the photographs that we saw the last time, but we added this photograph here, which is looking up the hill at the neighbors behind 34 Stockbridge. So you can see that even though we were adding to the second floor, these neighbors close are still much higher and above the existing or our proposed project. And we also did a comparison in size to the neighborhood houses, which is right here on this little table. The square footage of the house, we used two sources, the card at Town Hall plus Zillow, and the size of the lot to get a FAR, floor area ratio, to the size of the lot. And our project here is in yellow. So right now we're at 14% of the lot. We're proposing to get up to 19% of the lot. But you can see the majority of the houses in the neighborhood are above that. So by comparison, we are on the small side after considering the proposed project. This is the second floor addition. And you can see we pulled it back on the second floor to be within the side setback on the right-hand side. But it continues the nonconformity on the second floor to the rear. So this corner here, there's an existing shed on the first floor, right in this corner, we're building out over that existing shed. This line here is a single-story roof enclosure over the existing deck that is below 15 feet of average grade. So I went through that very quickly. I'm happy to clarify anything or show you something that you need to see.
But it is within the 15-foot. Oh, no, you're an RB, right? So it's you can be within 6 feet of the sidelines if it's 15 feet in height or less and 100 feet in setback, which I guess you're continuing a nonconformity.
We're continuing a nonconformity, yes.
But here's there's both kind of a plus and a minus in what I'm about to ask you, and that has to do with your coverage calculations. By adding a roof, an impervious roof, you've changed a pervious deck, which doesn't count for coverage, into an impervious structure. That's the bad news. The good news is that you're counting as part of the coverage, I believe, ledge, both ledge above and ledge under the deck. Our bylaws say that coverage is calculated based on man-made materials. So you're not liable for impervious ledge. If so, we would have a nightmare throughout town, probably in everybody's lot in town. So in some ways you've undercounted coverage, in some ways you've overcounted both existing coverage, and I'd like to see the calculations comply with the way we define our bylaws here in Cohasset. I'm not saying that you're creating a coverage nonconformity. In fact, you have undoubtedly a lot coverage nonconformity now, but do you follow my point about ledge is excluded from coverage, but a roofed structure is now included as coverage?
My understanding is there's two kinds of coverage, and maybe Mr. Hallen can clear this up. There is impervious coverage, which has to do with drainage and topography, which conservation would deal with. And then there's man-made coverage, as you talked about, which is a zoning and a building department issue. So that's why on our site plan, we have two categories: impervious coverage, and then what we're calling here lot coverage, which is the man-made features.
Mm-hmm.
And those calculations are showing here.
Yeah, I agree. And you also have the capability of adjusting the impervious driveway, as you already have proposed anyway, to compensate for any recalculation if that's called for.
That's right.
I don't see that as a big barrier, but I do think it's important that we have accurate statistics. Were we to approve this, we should be approving the accurate statistics and not something else that in 2 years will make people scratch their heads. But so you could, in my estimation, and John may have a different point of view, but eliminate ledge as a coverage issue, because our bylaw says portion of lot covered by any man-made materials that are impervious to water. So you can exempt the ledge coverage part. You do have to add the coverage that's created by adding a roof over a deck, because we have traditionally in the zoning board treated a deck with its kind of gaps, be they small or large on the decking, as allowing water to run below. So I don't know where that comes out, but I'd like to, and I'll leave it up to the board, but I'd like to see a recalculation, and B, you can use your impervious driveway to do any compensations you may have to make, and you may not have to. I don't know.
So what I'm showing on the screen is what we intended to answer your question, and maybe it does not.
Good. That's what I wanted Chris to answer.
The group called lot coverage calculation includes all the roofs. It does not include ledge.
Okay. Okay, so that's where you get the 29.6.
Well, we got to 20. It is over that now. So by removing the driveway, we're reducing it, compensating for the increased roof coverage.
But haven't you already compensated for the driveway, which existing is 1908, and now you're proposing 1535? You may be proposing a little less even than that. Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, it's not a disqualification, but it's an adjustment that I think you should make to.
So I'm not sure I follow what adjustment you're requesting.
Well, the deck and the porch, you've proposed 330 square feet of lot coverage for that.
Oh, yep.
But you right now have a deck and a porch that doesn't qualify, I don't think, as impervious. An open deck without a roof, without it's not a building. It's a structure, but not a building, doesn't count. And by covering it, you're adding to the deck / porch coverage, but your 450 square feet may be overstated.
I got it. The existing deck does not count as coverage.
I don't know, John, do you see it differently?
Yeah, I think you're right, Woody. I think what he's trying to do is also in his calculations kind of account for the stormwater portion, which he'll have to account for. So that's, I think, where some of the confusion comes in. But I see your point. I think that the adjustment
from a zoning standpoint, I don't think it's a it's not a hurdle. It's just an adjustment.
Yeah, I think that a matter of putting the numbers together a little bit differently, and his coverage will actually be less. So I think you're right, but I could address that.
Okay.
Prior to the next meeting.
How about the board? What issues do you see here? We did get a letter a month or two ago from an abutter saying that they felt this was kind of a privacy intrusion, that people in the house would be able to look down on their property. I am not giving an opinion on that. I'm just simply reciting my recollection.
Yeah, I mean, I think that right-hand side, right in the back, originally, you were looking at it had an existing 16.2 foot setback, right? And then the porch became a structure that was less than 15 feet and could encroach closer to 10 feet. Now the porch kind of becomes part of the structure, but still less than 15 feet. So I know we call it extension of a nonconformity, but if you kind of look at that little box in the back, that's truly what. It's the deck was kind of a permitted less than 15 feet is now becoming part of the structure. So,
and it's supposed to have a 15-foot setback, but they are extending the deck setback. That the deck setback is independent of coverage. That's a different measurement, different calculation. So they're extending a nonconformity in the deck, and they're and enclosing it, and I think. So that's really kind of a classic, 8.7 is this injurious, significantly more injurious to the neighborhood.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes. Sure.
The deck exists.
I know.
We're not extending the deck.
No, I understand. There are two different calculations.
We've moved the second floor back. We have moved the second floor back within the setback lines. Please be cognizant of the fact that between last meeting and this, we have moved that second floor back to within the setback lines of what is required. The deck already exists. It is 11 feet, but we have moved the second floor back 5 feet.
So now it's 16.2. Is that right on this plan? The second floor is set back 16.2 feet from the lot line?
Correct.
Like,
Yes.
okay,
So-
so it
At the
complies.
second,
Yeah, so they notched it in, right, yeah.
So we need to help you understand that we are coming to the table to be as compliant as possible and to allow us to have a 3-bedroom house on the second floor. So the first floor is merely closing in an existing deck, and the neighbors have no problem with that. And the second floor, the neighbors on Elm Court, 49 Elm Court, have indicated they have no problem with the plans that they have seen online. They opened the link, they looked at it, they have no problem. So we need to move forward with the fact that we can enclose a current deck. And we have taken this to an engineering firm who said, this is not going to move the dial at all on any kind of rainwater, and we're not even coming out here to look at this project. So I'm really hoping that we can just move this forward. We love Cohasset. We live here. We love this house. We want to maintain the roof line. We just want to put a second floor on this house and enclose the first floor deck. How can we make that happen?
Well, you probably have in terms of the plan I'm looking at.
We would love that.
so if I could just clarify what I've got on the screen, you can see this black line underneath the blue hatch mark. It says 5.6, 7.0, 5.6.
Yeah.
Which is non-conforming at the rear setback line, which is this black dashed line here. That is the portion that we're limiting our second floor extension to.
Right. You're not creating a new nonconformity.
Correct.
Pretty clearly there.
Okay.
Now, does the board agree that the second floor being less than 50, second floor is set back 16 feet from the lot line, and anything that is on the first floor is less than 15 feet, and it extends a nonconformity? We have to, you know, it's not a big deal, but we have to address that, because the nonconformity that's allowed by right is 15 feet. And you've got an 11-foot deck and you're extending it back, and that's, you know, so be it. We just have to make a determination that this is not significantly more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Well, I have to say also that we're downhill. And that when you're living downhill from our neighbors, our beautiful neighbors on the right who have fabulous houses, and look at those beautiful houses, and then the guy up the hill 143 feet away, and the one with the brown there is 43 feet away. I don't think we're in an issue with light, privacy, or air here in putting on this little 30 square foot corner. What we're talking about here is when you're downhill, you feel like everybody's looking at you. And so to put a roof over here, see that car? What the only thing we're talking about is putting a roof over that area of the deck, so whoever sits out there can't be seen by people looking down on them.
Yeah, well, I'd like to hear from the board. I don't see that as an impediment at all, but other board members may have a different point of view. I'd like to hear from some of my colleagues.
Chris, I think my only other question I saw you have the calculations for the average grade, right? So was that you took those around the entire perimeter?
Yeah, the surveyor did that for us. The grade calculations are here.
Yeah. the only thing that made me look at it is like 15 seemed to be a high, but obviously it's got the different topography. I know we recently changed the way that we measure that average grade with, and John knows it better than me, but what is it, every 10, was it like every 10 feet, John, around the entire perimeter or something like that for the new?
Yeah, and at the same distance away from the house. So it appears that they probably did that. If you look at the lower right-hand side, they've got the number of calculations that they've done. And I think that Matt seems to be pretty accurate to the true picture that we see.
Okay.
Lee, any comments? Charlie, comments? Mike?
I don't have a whole lot of heartburn, Woody.
I don't have any comments.
Looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think what Charlie, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in front of Charlie Higginson.
Yeah, I agree. Their changes seem to make it acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very challenging lot as they would be the first people and probably the last to cite. But I think what's been done over the course of the last couple of months is mitigated, if not eliminated, a lot of the concerns the board, I think, has had with this proposition. So my only concern is to tweak the numbers, if you wouldn't mind, Chris. That can be done offline, submitted after this hearing, just so we have an accurate document to reference. That's all, in terms of coverage and things like that. Coverage, basically.
Yep, absolutely, will do.
I mean, it can be handled quite well. Anything? Is there anybody, Montana, in the queue who would like to comment on this application? You're muted. So
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, I would make a motion to continue this hearing until February 6th for the purpose of reviewing a draft decision. For the Case of Myers benefits, we never really vote on a decision at the same hearing that we have an active hearing, but I've been assigned to write a draft, and I will try to represent the conversation accurately, and we'll have a draft decision on the 6th. At least the motion is made. Anybody wish to oppose that motion, or do you think we can continue this hearing? I mean, if there is new material submitted, I mean, which is what I've asked Chris to do, but I don't think there's anything of substance that we need to see. But I don't want to override anybody that's got angst from the board. Is the board comfortable with that decision to continue the hearing until next month for a review and vote?
Yes.
Yes.
I am anyway.
Seconded.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to continue this hearing until February 6th, primarily for the purpose of reviewing a draft decision and taking a final vote.
Seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded. Woody Chidick, aye.
Charlie Higginson, aye.
Lee Darcey.
Mike Dickey, aye.
Matt Watkins, aye.
Okay, and I want to thank you guys for having been flexible and accommodating and much more consistent with the zoning bylaws. It makes our life a lot easier. So anyway, I'll have my draft for next month. And I know time is money, but we'll try to dispense with this quickly.
Thank you, and we are very respectful of the work that you do. And we appreciate your thoughtfulness. And if there are any questions between now and the next meeting, we hope that at least somebody reaches out to us.
Yeah.
That next meeting is the end of it. And thank you.
Well, I would hope so. There's no reason to continue. No, I mean, you've done what you can, and I don't think, frankly, this is an editorial comment, you can do much more. So, no, you've changed and changed. I think this is the third or fourth iteration. So,
So we're on a collaborative agreement and we appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that hearing is continued until February 6th. The next hearing we have tonight is a special permit filed by Ned Sullivan and Abigail Sullivan to build an addition to the home at 87 Pleasant Street.
Want to leave?
Yeah. You can leave unless you're bored.
Sorry, give me 1 second. All right.
Are they-
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull Chris out to make him an attendee, and it won't let me right now.
Okay. Oh, you're more
I'll leave, and
able
then
than I am to do this.
it'll take care of itself if I leave. Bye-bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay,
Okay, I'm pulling in Brendan Sullivan and the other applicants now. Oh, so sorry. I meant to pull in Doug. I apologize, Brendan.
Yeah, no, this was 87, right? I know there's a lot of Sullivans on
Yes,
there.
I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second.
Brendan,
Thank
so
you.
if
I'll
you
see
would
you
be
at the
good
next one.
enough to explain to the porch what your clients want to do, and I would make an editorial comment, as I'm apt to do. I'm not sure this is an 8.3. I think it's an 8.7. You don't qualify for single lot exemption because you're creating or extending some nonconformities. It's not a big deal, but I think it's should be adjusted away from 8.3.
But you're talking about 87, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm on for 4 Great Brewster.
Sorry.
I'm on for the next one.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Brendan,
said-
can you remove yourself? It won't give me. I can't pull you back out. Will you just leave and rejoin?
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Sorry.
We'll see you in a bit.
You're so eager to get this done with it. Okay, so now we have the Sullivans. Who's representing them, if anybody?
Myself, I'm Doug Jack. I'm the architect.
Okay. As I said, a small administrative thing. I am pretty sure your applicants, your clients are not eligible for an 8.3 as of right decision, but they are eligible for an 8.7, which is an extension of a nonconformity. That's
Okay.
a small point, but
Okay.
but we have within our power to deal with any changes in an application. So I would consider this sort of an administrative change, unless you have for some reason, an objection. I don't.
No, in fact, I think Montana had worked directly with the building commissioner to figure out what category. we fit
Montana,
into, so-
why 8.3?
Yeah, so I brought the application to John when they submitted it, and John and I worked together, and that's what we agreed upon.
But 8.3 says, provided that all other provisions of this bylaw are complied with, and the provisions in terms of setback are not being complied with. In other words, the extension is not conforming, it's non-conforming, which throws it into 8.7. 8.3 is really one of lot size and things of that sort, not structural. It's width, area, etc. So it's not a big deal, but we rarely run into an 8.3. That's all. Why don't we go forward anyway and hear it, and the board can decide if it's an 8.3 or an 8.7. But regardless, you'll need some relief, and that's why you're here before us.
Mhm. Shall I go ahead and present?
Yeah, please.
Montana, can you allow me to share my screen? Oh, that's good. Is everyone seeing a PDF that says exhibits?
See a cover sheet.
Yeah, the cover sheet there.
Yeah.
All right, great. And hopefully everyone got the prints as well. So
Yeah.
they should mirror what you already had in the print form, but I'll walk you through it verbally. So like I said, my name's Doug Jack. I'm the architect. Abigail and Ned Sullivan are here as well. They're the homeowners, and they live at 87 Pleasant Street there in Cohasset. It's a somewhat small lot, but it wasn't always that way. So in 2015, a builder developer bought 85 and 87 and subdivided it, and then built the house that's on the lot for 85 Pleasant Street, and then sold 87 to my clients, the Sullivans. So they're left with the 1934 built Dutch colonial house that's always been on the site, and there's a pretty large 2015 built house next door to them. It's kind of squished up against them, but in any event, they've lived there for a handful of years now. They have a growing family, and they're looking to expand it to have a larger primary bedroom suite, as well as a great room where they can host Thanksgiving and things. Right now, the house is pretty choppy, as a 1934 Dutch colonial tends to be. So the idea is to expand into the rear yard. You can see the way that our footprint is so small compared to these two neighbors. The other immediately adjacent neighbor at 91 Pleasant Street, that house was built in 2007. So this like extra elongated house type is the norm of these newer houses, but 87 is a more historic house, and we're looking to extend at the back. This is a view from the street, just giving you a feel for the neighbor and the house that we're adding to. So this is my client's house at 87, and we're looking to bump out on the backside. I have a view later in the presentation showing what the addition looks like, but it'll roughly replace this existing deck there and be marginally visible from this side and not visible from the other neighbor's side. This is that new house that was built in 2015. They used to be the side yard for this house. So beginning with the site plan, this gives you the overview of, again, those two neighbors. This is Pleasant Street on the left-hand side, where we're just standing with the street view. So the existing house, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see it better. Existing house is in white. The proposed addition is in this hatched tone here. We've set it back very slightly from this right side of the buildings to differentiate the new construction from the existing construction. It's kind of an architectural move, but also gives a little bit of relief on the massing against this 2015 house that's right up against us, breaks the massing down, makes it feel smaller in scale. The addition is 24 feet deep. The bulk of it is 18'6" wide. That's the great room expansion. And there's a mudroom addition as well. That's 10 feet. And that sets back there as well, but we're well within the setback. So the setback boundary is this dashed line that goes here. And again, this house was very far from the setback 8 years ago, but when it got cut in half, the existing 1934 house was cast partially over the setback. So if I zoom way in here, the existing house is 7'5" over the setback according to this new property line from 2015. The calculations at a site scale are on the left here. So the existing footprint is 898 square feet. So the lot coverage is just 9%. We're looking to add 684 square feet to the footprint, which brings us up to 1582. Still a pretty petite house for the neighborhood. And that brings our lot coverage up to 15.8%, which is well below the 20% bylaw requirement. And then the two adjacent properties information is listed on the right-hand side there. Now, the reason that we're looking to go straight back, whenever I started a design process with a client, I do a zoning review, and then we do quick schematic designs that look at options before we commit to one. We did look at options that would be 7.5 feet back from this property line and tried to make it work. It's extremely difficult. Because the existing spaces can't flow cleanly out to the addition, and B, because this is the side that the driveway is on. So to bump the space any further that way, there's not enough space for more than one car to park. It would be a daisy chain style driveway where you can't park two cars and get around one another.
Yeah, I thought about driving down today in the back, and I think I'd never get out again.
I know. It's already tough as it is. The existing driveway comes around, the deck it's in the coming slide, but the deck is about that big, and the existing driveway swings like this. So we are lopping off a chunk of the driveway to achieve this, which has its merits. The whole design intent here is that because we're on a steep slope, the great room will really flow out from the staircase into the yard, so the kids go play and you barbecue. So we're willing to get rid of some of the driveway and the asphalt for the design. But if we kind of schematically, we looked at putting the whole building over here, and it just doesn't leave you enough space for the driveway to be functional.
Who owns the land to the rear?
That's a great question. So it's kind of this.
I mean,
This
it's
isn't
wild and undeveloped, but I don't know. Is that town?
Yeah, Abigail, Ned, do you know offhand?
I do believe it's some kind of conservation. So if you go straight behind us, you'll hit the music circus, and I think
Oh, okay.
I think that's all some kind of conservation, but I'm not sure.
It's not a residential lot.
No, it's pretty clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
There's one house that's tucked off the road that's kind of over here. I think this is the edge of their property, and you get to it a different way. But then there's a whole bunch of nature back there that goes back to the circus. The school is over this direction.
Yeah, I think maybe it's either conservation. It's possible. I think the town may own some of that. They've talked about it, as future expansion of the school, but not all the way to the backyard.
Yep.
Who knows? Anyway, nobody's likely to be disturbed, at least in the near future.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go kind of quickly through the floor plans. This is probably more myopic than we need for the hearing, but just in case you're interested, this is the existing basement plan with the underside of the deck, and we're looking to blow out a little bigger hole and have a finished basement that is a sort of kids playroom den space that'll be at grade with the new terrace in the backyard. This is the existing ground floor with the deck there that we're looking to, and whoops, let me go back. And you can see how choppy everything is. So it's tough to host gatherings with these three small spaces. So the idea is to move the kitchen into the existing dining room and then have a large flowing space, and also a connection from the front door to the back of the house. And then this little nub is a mudroom entry and little pantry powder room. And then on the uppermost floor, we're gonna delete one bedroom and replace it with a primary. I'm sorry, we're not deleting a bedroom. We're downsizing a bedroom to make a bathroom, and then we're adding a primary bedroom suite in the addition. So going through each of the three facades or four facades, really, in their calculations. This is the front, and I showed where the 7'5" setback intersects the house currently. So there's 116 square feet currently over it, and that number will remain. You won't see any additional. The addition's not visible from a frontal view from the street. The side view on the right is the primary place you see the addition. So we have 535 square feet of building frontage currently, and then this is where you'll see the side of the addition there, and the ground slopes quite aggressively, so the area does increase as you go down. So we're adding 483 square feet, which is a 90% increase in the total area. This is the rear facade with the setback line called out there. So currently is 159 square feet over the setback, and it only adds 24 square feet because you only get a little bit of this dormer end wall that's adding to the area. So it's a 15% increase. And then lastly, on the left side of the house, the driveway side, none of this area is over the setback, but you can see it there beyond the driveway. So this is the view from the street, that same kind of street view that was at the beginning of the show. So that's the existing house with the deck, and this is showing how the addition will replace that, and it sets back a little bit, like I said, so it's more diminutive. It respects the existing historic street volume on Pleasant Street. And then, oops, sorry, I skipped a slide. The volume calculations. So this diagram is, this kind of a ghosted plane where the zoning setback line is. So this is existing, and the volume within that setback is 4,294 cubic feet. And then this is our addition with that same plane cutting through it. And we're proposing to add another 4,224 cubic feet. It's just this portion of it there. And then, and you can see from this view on the rear also how the massing relates to the front volume. So because the ground is sloping so aggressively, I worked really hard with the homeowners to keep the scale of this down. So when you're in the backyard, it doesn't feel like you're on Wall Street, the skyscraper against you. So we broke down the scale. We didn't copy the Dutch colonial gambrel, but we did do a gable with dormers to try to bring that scale down. And then the side porch with that kind of grand stair to bring you into the landscape is articulated as a shed, addition off of that. So it breaks down the massing and tries to be respectful of the existing scale of the house. And then lastly, just for reference, because one of the requirements was sewer plan. I got this from the sewer department, and it shows the whole hookup from the street, and our house is highlighted in red there. With that, I'm happy to answer questions.
All right, board. Questions? Lee, was that you?
I was just double checking how much of the lot will be covered now.
It'll be 15.8% instead of existing is 9%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fairly deep lot.
Yeah.
And the house itself was built in 1934. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, the deck was 1987. We got that record from the building department.
It's of course, the zoning board doesn't deal with subdivisions of lots. That's a planning board decision, so I'm unfamiliar with the lot, I think, per se. Interesting, but these two lots had to pre-exist zoning. I mean, the house itself pre-exist. Was there nothing on the lot to the down
north?
Yeah, to the north.
Abigail, Ned, I don't know if you can confirm. That's my understanding. It was just the side yard for this house.
Huh.
Yes. So the Stoughton family lived here for years, and that was their driveway was actually on the other side. So it would have been when we bought the house, we moved the driveway so that there was right. It went just like that. So when we looked at it in 2015, it was like that. But I think Andrew Spath was the developer who worked out the plans to subdivide and then put in the driveway for us on the other side. But there was something I remember him citing when we bought the house about our Pleasant Street is dense, so it has a lot of long, skinny lots. So there was some paperwork from years ago that people found, which was something that helped subdivide this lot and helped him sell it as two separate ones or something. I don't know the details of it, but that was back in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, we've dealt with a few lots in Pleasant Street in the last few years, not dissimilar. But questions by the board of the applicant or the representative, Douglas.
Just for clarification, right? So in the rear setback, I see it's
78.3.
Is that right? It says are those swapped. Should the existing be 78? The proposed is no. Yeah, could you just show me the rear setback?
Yeah, so it's 78.3 is the proposed.
Yeah.
And existing is that plus 24, which would
102.
be 102.3.
Yeah. Yeah, so my only comment would be I'll say probably when you show your volume calculation, right? Typically the board, when they see a doubling, you might see some uneasiness with the massing of a doubling. And I guess what the board would probably look at a little bit closer here is it seems like everything is in that straight path in the rear setback, and when you look at, I guess, the neighborhood as a whole, there is some extensions that go back into that area. If it transitions to an 8.7B, kind of some of the things would be, why is it not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? And I think you showed the kind of the sewer piece, just that the sewer can handle it.
Well, you could also make, I think, Matt, a case that this house way precedes zoning by 21 years in 1934, and it's the smallest, in its immediate neighborhood. And even with this addition, it's going to be smaller than. I mean, could you show us that aerial view again? Smaller than many.
Even looking at this, we're still like half the size of the two neighboring houses. Here's the GIS plan.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. I mean, number 81 is small, but it's even bigger than this one today, from the looks of it. Yeah, I mean, number 71. I mean, who knows? But it's most of the houses in this neighborhood are larger and will probably still be larger when the addition is built. So.
Yeah, so I would suggest if we're leaning towards an 8.7B, right, you don't have to do it now necessarily, but at some point maybe just articulate some of those points of why it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, and probably because when you see the number of a doubling, right, a lot of times that catches attention.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you can say, hey, this is going towards the rear, and it's consistent with and even smaller than other, a lot smaller than
houses built more recently.
There's some of the stuff that you'll want to articulate, I think, as part of the record.
Mm-hmm.
Have your clients, the Sullivans, who are obviously on the call, reached out to the neighbors?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
We're new to this, so we just followed the protocol of the town and notified them by mail as standard. But I haven't had any verbal conversations yet.
Okay, well, you're not required to ring doorbells. Notice is fine. I just didn't know if.
I mean, I've seen my neighbors since the mail was delivered, and nobody
brought
it.
Talk to you?
And they dropped off gifts on New Year's Eve. So,
all right. Well, there you go. That's even better than a tentative thumbs up. I don't know. Yeah, Matt, I think your point is that the architect has got to make the case that this is not substantially more detrimental, but looking at its relative size and the fact that the house to the south or north, I guess it is north, didn't exist 10 years ago. Roughly, it's they could have built in 19, who knows what, or 2012 and had no issues whatsoever. So I don't know. I mean, I don't see this as offensive or egregious to the neighborhood, and it is sloping, and it's on a hill. I mean, it not only slopes to the rear, but it's on a hill. So every house sequentially, as you go up, is above the one to the north to some extent. I mean, so it isn't like you're, 5 feet away from somebody's bedroom. I don't think.
No, yeah, it's certainly not. And I didn't show this neighbor because we're so far from that adjacency, but that house is quite a bit above this one. That side porch looks down at my client's house.
Well, other than, I think Matt, I think it is an 8.7B Because they would then otherwise have to make a case that they're not extending a nonconformity. That's not true. But I think it sounds like they would meet the standards of an 8.7B. Or at least when that gets drafted, Lee. What do you think?
I mean, I understand the increase in the size, but based on all the information that was provided, I think with the exception of the 8.7B, I think that all of the materials that were submitted really reinforced that this is not going to be out of character for the neighborhood. I mean, I think the schematics, I think the aerial, I think the sewer map, I think all the plans I thought were extremely clear as to the increases, and they're not increasing the height. And while it is increasing the volume, it is consistent with the neighborhood. And I think all the information they submitted reinforced that point. I thought this was very, very clear and very easy to follow. And put together in a way to show you how this will
the impact,
not be negative impact to the neighbors. When I was reviewing it, I thought it was all very clear. I think one of our biggest issues is that people don't show how far away or the size or who owns the other houses, and that was definitely with the aerial and this particular the site plan. You can see that all very clearly and really kind of imagine the size. And when you drive by, it's hard to picture that, but with all this material that was submitted, I think it really reinforces.
Okay. And Doug and Sullivan's the Conservation Commission did chime in, suggesting that you're going to need a stormwater permit. Wanted to know if there are any vegetative wetlands to the rear. They didn't draw a conclusion, but and will there be additional driveway paving? Well, there'll be additional driveway, or there'll be some changes there, but that's up to the Conservation Commission. But I think, Lee, your decision has got to at least, kind of recognize that the commission agent had three concerns, not objections. They were unknown, such as, are there vegetated wetlands? Will there be a stormwater permit? It looks like you'll need one. What is parking? Is there any issue with parking?
Right.
It's not a zoning issue with lot coverage. That's not the issue. So I'm not sure what her, interesting, she cited that, but I'm not sure what conservation issue is. Have you been to the Conservation Commission?
We have not. This felt like the first stop on the train.
Okay.
To see if we were going to survive with this massing before we got started through all the different departments.
Well, I think Lee summed it up pretty well. Charlie, do you have any other issues in this hearing?
No, I think make very good sense and be very similar to the other houses on Pleasant Street.
Yeah. So I'd make a motion to continue the hearing until February 6th for the purpose of reviewing a draft decision. And we will cite, I'm sure, the fact that you're going to need a Conservation Commission. Okay, it would be helpful because we're continuing the hearing. If that, I don't know how their schedules look, but if they could meet on this prior to Lee's final draft, she could incorporate any conditions, and they may not have any, but
for sure. Yeah, we'll try to get this over to them and see how quickly they can review it.
Sure. Okay, so I've made a motion to continue the hearing till February 6th. Okay, get a second. All in favor, Woody Chidick, aye.
Go Eggerton, aye.
Lee Darst, aye.
Mike Dickey, aye.
Matt Watkins, aye.
Okay, 5-0. Continued until next month. Okay, we have one final hearing tonight.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. I endorse what Lee said about the clarity. This is for Great Brewster Trail, to build a single-story addition. And not sure who's representing the applicant, but I'm sure.
This time it's actually Brendan Sullivan. Sorry about the last time.
Oh, that's right. Brendan was here earlier.
And then we have Kevin Sullivan and I believe his wife.
Okay, so Brendan, I presume you're speaking for the Sullivans?
Yes.
All right, well, why don't you explain what they want to do and the relief you're going to need under 8.4.
Sure. So for the record, Brendan Sullivan from Merrill.
Well, I don't know if it's a definitive plan exemption. Or these are the new code numbers. I'm dealing with the old bylaws 8.7. The old 8.7B.
I believe that's where we are. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't personally fill out the application. I just did the plan.
Okay.
So for the record, Brendan Sullivan with Merrill Associates, here with the owners and applicants, Kevin and Kelly Sullivan. No relation, I must say. Many Sullivans on the call tonight. So I put up my site plan, which is number 4, Great Brewster Trail. Lies on the south side of Great Brewster Trail on a lot that is approximately, it is 50 feet wide and approximately 100 feet long. So it's just under, there's a little knockout on the back corner. So we're just under 5,000 square feet for the existing lot. So I will zoom in. It's a pre-existing non-conforming lot and structure. The structure was built according to the assessor's record in 1910. The lot was created in 1930, I believe, 1930, 1932. So both the structure and the lot predate zoning. It's an existing, basically about a 1.5 story dwelling. The front setback gets as close as 7 feet to Great Brewster Trail. The easterly setback is approximately 7.4. Westerly setback is 6.5. The rear setback is approximately 68.7. So what they're planning on doing, I'll bring up some architecturals as well, is but this bump out in the rear corner of the house is basically it's a one-story part of the structure. There's also a one-story part of the structure on this side as well. There's a small living space on the second story. The existing footprint is approximately 630 square feet. The second floor is approximately 400 square feet. So what we're planning on doing is taking out this one-story addition and bumping out the back. What I did on this plan, and I don't think I submitted this plan, but this green is the building setbacks for the lot. So we are in an RB district. So our front yard setback is 30 feet, which comes to here, which comes to almost to the back of the house. Just to give you perspective of how much of the house is within the front yard setback. This line is the 20-foot setback. This is the 20-foot setback. And the rear setback is 30 feet as well. So you can see what little area we have to work with within the building setbacks. So it's basically is a first-story addition. It's basically a 4-room, 1-bedroom dwelling. They're looking to put back a 1-bedroom first-story living. So as I said before, we're taking down this 1-story addition here, bumping this back. So now our rear setback is going to be 44.6. We are increasing the easterly setback to 8 feet from 7.4. We're maintaining the 6.5-foot setback on the left side. I'm sorry, the westerly side. It's actually the right side facing the front of the house. So if I could show you, we did update the elevations I was supposed to get those to you last week. I was in and out sick last week, so I did not get the plans to you. I could show them to you. Would you want to see the updated plans? They're a little bit more clear than these, or do you want to
Well,
look at?
what do you mean by updated plans?
Well, not updated, more clarity on the facade calculations.
Well, I would imagine we would if you have them, but they have to be also, submitted to us. For
Yes,
consideration
yes.
separately.
So I think these are a little more clearer, a little bit more detailed than the other ones. So on the left-hand side, we have in red showing all the nonconformities. This is the front elevation. There's no door in the front. There's just there's a side door, step back. This is that other one-story addition on the right-hand side I was talking about. This is the addition on the left side I was talking about. This is the main structure. So this is the front elevation. This is the left side elevation, showing the stairway going up. This is the front of the house here. This is that one-story shed dormer. This is the rear elevation. So you see that little white piece there. That's the only piece that is with outside of the building setback. So all the red is non-conforming. The right side elevation, similar, showing the non-conformity. So from the front elevation, you can see most of the addition is to the back. So we just have what we show in blue is the new roof lines. So the blue constitutes approximately 4% increase in facade. And we can go to the rear. The rear, as once again shown in the blue, is the addition. And the rear is approximately, once again, about 4 or 5% increase in facade. The left side of the dwelling, so this is once again, this is the front over here. The left side, we've increased approximately almost just about a little bit more than double, about 107% increase. So we're just over doubling the size on the left side. And on the right side, we are about 130% increase. So the new is in the blue, as you can see. So keeping basically the roof line the same, basically a 1.5 story. There is no, the second story living is going to stay the same in the front part. The rest is going to be just storage above the addition in the back. And I believe that is about it. I think that is about it.
Okay. Well, I want to go back to something Matt brought up at an earlier hearing this evening. And Matt, you mentioned that one of the things that gives us great cause for concern is, or you implied at least, that creating a new nonconformity is a problem. And secondly, really increasing massing or building coverage in a setback has been a major concern of the board for precedential reasons as well. And I see that you're going from structural coverage from 30% to 43%. 30% is required. I'm sorry, from 31%. You're mildly non-conforming now, lot coverage. And building coverage at 20%, again, goes up 50% plus at 32.7%. So it's the coverage things that are really gives us problems in general. Now, what makes this different, unique, exceptional, if you will, that if this were a larger lot and somebody were going to 40% lot coverage or structural coverage, that would be a knockout.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it is the smallest lot on Great Brewster Trail. Now there are, there's only 3 other residences that have addresses on Great Brewster Trail. I haven't done a floor area ratio for any of those. But it is, it's only a 5,000 square foot lot. I mean, there's plenty of houses in Cohasset that are more than 5,000 square feet of living space. So it's a very, it's the smallest lot in the neighborhood, smallest house in the neighborhood. I mean, I could probably do a floor area ratio analysis for the neighborhood to see what that comes up with.
Well, yeah, but our concern is impact on the neighborhood. Is it more detrimental and significantly more detrimental rather than is it the smallest house in the neighborhood, which should expand? I mean, that's not a test.
Right. I mean,
the impact on neighborhood is the test.
Right. So the closest dwelling is across the street at 40 some odd feet across the street. We have 75 feet to the house, which has a Highland Ave address. The house next door, which has a Highland Ave address, we're at 52 feet over there. And we're maintaining about 92, 93 feet to the next house up on Great Brewster Trail. So, I mean, I think in those numbers, and you can see where the addition's going, it's not like we're going to be decreasing those numbers significantly. The closest house and across the street, we're not going to get any closer at all. It's just in the rear, maybe this one on Highland Ave, we'll be decreasing that to probably below 50 feet. The house on next Great Brewster Trail, we're probably still going to be in the 90s, 90 feet away. So I think the case that it is the smallest lot in the neighborhood, says quite a bit for the lot and the structure.
What about the front bump out, stoop and stairs? John, Helen, I can't remember what is the provision in our bylaws that allow you to move farther into the front setback. Do you remember that?
Yes, we had it over on Spring Street, I believe it was.
Yeah. Wherever that provision is, it's hard to find. I mean, it was slotted in somewhere.
I thought it was 30 square feet, but I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, the 30 square feet jumps out at me. I don't have the bylaws open in front of me.
Well, it's not where you'd expect to find it. That's the problem.
No, it isn't. But
I don't know if there's any. John, what do you think? I mean, you issue a lot of building permits. Again, this isn't. You've got a conforming house in terms of, its building coverage is conforming and its structural coverage is non-conforming by a meager 1%. And now that's changing a lot. And nothing says that if we were to approve or disapprove this, we're setting a precedent, but there are such things as precedent and guidelines.
I think in this circumstance, most of the situation comes to, to start off with such a small lot, just under 5,000 square feet. So it's a difficult workaround, no matter how they're handicapped, but there are but one or two other houses with small lots in town.
Yeah, it's like the hillside. A few lots in the hillside. What can be done to mitigate or reduce the coverage issues? I mean, the side setback is what it is. They're improving it marginally. I mean, in one direction. The front setback is what it is. I'm not sure about that 30 square feet exemption, but we can look that up. But I don't know how the board feels. I'm uneasy when I see 42 or 3 or 4% structural coverage.
Well, so the lot coverage is I think, are you talking about the structural coverage, the building coverage, correct?
Well, both coverages go up and
so I mean,
exceed the bylaw.
we can certainly work with the lot coverage. I mean, we're maintaining the existing Bitconk driveway. You know, some of that can be removed. You know, the brick walkway that goes out to the front. You know, I'd hate to give up the shed in the back, just because of the soils and the groundwater out there. I don't think there's going to be much storage in the basement.
Okay.
So for lot coverage, we probably could get it closer to the 30, low 30s. The building coverage, we could do something, you know, the rear porch, maybe uncover that, make it a deck. And maybe get the building coverage like below, if it was comfortable for you, like, you know, below 30 into the mid to high 20s.
Brendan, I think we did speak with the owner too, and I know there was some willingness to reduce that back porch roof to make it into a deck at some point. So I would agree with you there. We did bring that up at a meeting.
Okay.
How does the board feel about this? I mean, I don't want to be too pedantic on this, but
Yeah, I have similar concerns with the coverage, and I would probably suggest to Brennan maybe give a little bit more thought as to, you know, obviously, even though the application says 8.4, if it's an 8.7B, the substantially more detrimental to me. Like, we have the smallest lot, doesn't actually gain you much when it comes to making a case for the coverage piece of it. I mean, I know it's unique in that it's small, but we've looked at lots, for example, like on Summer Street, where somebody has a narrow lot and kind of part of the pitch as well. We don't have too much to work with. So I'd maybe suggest just giving a little bit more thought as to how this type of expansion would not impact the neighborhood.
Okay.
I think on the positive side, it is set back pretty far from existing houses, but nevertheless, that doesn't prevent existing houses from expanding legally, you know, outside of a setback. So it's, you know, it's not an ironclad argument, but that is one. You know, it's certainly the smallest lot and the smallest house probably on this street, but that doesn't exempt it. You can't do much about the setbacks, and that's why I think it's a classic 8.7B. But you can do something about lot coverage as opposed to creating a nonconformity. I think that's really been a no-no for almost every situation we've considered. And whether I'm not trying to design it, and I'm not trying to give you here, if you can hit 33.2%, you're home free. Not that, but I think if you were an awful lot closer to the limit of coverage, it would probably work in your client's favor. Would it be enough? I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I don't want to give you a number, but we're not used to seeing lot coverage going from 31% to 43, whatever it is, percent, and 15% to 32, doubling. That's just, we just don't approve those.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, how does the rest of the board feel? I don't want to, you know, I'm looking for wise minds to.
I think Michael was talking, but he was muted.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're looking for a wise mind, you're looking in the wrong place.
Well, it's all relative, Mike, and so I still think you qualify.
But no, I was just going to say, I think you've articulated the issue well, Woody. It's, you know, most of the time when we're looking at these types of things, we're talking percentages, you know, in terms of nonconformities that are much, much less than what's presented here. And obviously, you know, some of that's being driven by the size of the lot. And so I think, you know, it's fair for us to take that into consideration, but it's also quite different from usually the types of assessments we're asked to think about.
Yeah, Lee, Charlie, Matt, what do you think?
I agree that the issue is the lot coverage, and I think it's been, I think I agree with Michael. It's been articulated by others in the comments.
Charlie Higginson, what is this proposed bulkhead on the left?
Well, just as it reads, a proposed bulkhead.
But it didn't go to anything, so it's all new.
Yes, it's a new bulkhead that would access the basement, which like I said, I think we're trying to maintain the existing floor in the basement, which gives you maybe 5.5 feet of headroom in the basement. So room for some storage, but not a full basement for sure.
Yeah, I kind of missed that one, Charlie. That again intrudes into the setback or exacerbates a nonconformity. It isn't just continuing a nonconformity side setback, but it's creating a new one.
Brendan, would they be able to put a door, a little door for access into the basement?
Yeah, possibly,
or crawl space.
Or if they wanted a bulkhead, maybe we could put it in the rear, in the back of the back.
That would be a lot less offensive to me, I think.
Back in this area here.
Yeah, I mean, that would be obviously non-conforming, but not as much non-conforming as the existing main structure, whereas this is a new non-conformity.
Got it. Okay.
Where you situated it today, and if it were in the rear, that wouldn't give me any great anxiety, I don't think. It still comes down, as Lee said, to coverage, but that's at least not creating a new nonconformity.
Right. And just to be clear, I don't think it applies to the R because we're in an RB, but in RA, you're allowed additional coverage if the lot was less than 18,000 square feet. But that does not apply to RB. Is that correct? Or
let me see. I
think it's it's right in the bottom of the zoning chart.
Yeah.
The districts.
Oh.
In the table.
2 or 3. It's you mean it's one of those footnotes?
No, well, yeah, it's a footnote, but it's a footnote in the RA district.
Portion a maximum building coverage should not exceed 25% of the actual area if the lot contains whichever is less in the event that the subject lot is a pre-existing. Yes, that's what this is. Containing less than 18,000 square feet. Yes, but as you say, it's not carried over to RB. And that's not a mistake because it's not carried over to RC either. So yeah, it just doesn't apply.
Okay.
Well, I would, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add other than what I said.
I think you got to play with the bulkhead, as Charlie points out. I'd like to be reminded. I'd like to read that bump out provision again, the 30 square feet, if it's within no more than 3 feet of the lot line or whatever the hell it is, but to try to make that comply. And if you had an uncovered porch, which equals a deck, you're reducing lot coverage to some extent. And I don't know, you are taking away a little bit of the wing on the east side. Play with it so it's not, obviously it's a strange undersized lot and predates the zoning, but one could argue caveat emptor. People buy lots knowing that they either comply or don't. It doesn't mean that we must or should give exemptions all over the place. But I think you may have more flex than you think. I defer to you and John on that one.
Okay, yeah, we can sharpen our pencils and see what we come up with.
Yeah.
It still makes a viable project.
John, what do you think? You think it could be massaged?
Yeah, I think there is some room for improvement with the percentages of coverage, too. So,
and the two setbacks, the bulkhead setback and the front stoop setback. The front may comply. I don't know, or could be made to comply, but I just have to refresh my memory because I couldn't find that stupid provision.
Yeah, I'll look it up this week too.
Okay. Well, I would make a motion then that we continue the hearing until February 6th, primarily for the purpose of looking at some plan revisions. And I think we would a decision would flow out of that, but without having a revised, knowing what might be done that would be satisfactory to the zoning board and satisfactory to the clients, wherever that meeting point is. I think we'd have to entertain a new look at this. So I'd make a motion to continue this until the February 6th hearing of the zoning board.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Woody Chitik, aye.
Bill Egerton, aye.
Lee Darcey.
Michael Dickey, aye.
Matt Watkins, aye.
Okay, so approved 5-0 that we continue this until next month. And I will say I'm sympathetic to the applicants who bought a funky little piece of property, but still. Okay, so it's John Helm and Brendan Sullivan are sort of appointed a ad hoc committee of two to try to figure this out.
We'll come up with something.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Now, I don't know if there's anything else before the zoning board. My antennae are now up based on Mike's introductory comments of the evening that the bylaw has been rewritten in whole or in part.
Yeah, no, I think Tom wants to make some pretty, well, I think if you were to listen to Tom, it would be a different explanation. So,
no, but this isn't a one-man band, and
I think he's looking to try and, I think he's making major revisions. I think he's trying to collapse things and try and rearrange things to kind of put in his view, trying to, group similar concepts together rather than have them kind of, hodgepodge all over the bylaw. So he's I gotta tip my cap. He's put a lot of work into and a lot of thought. So kudos to him for that. But I also think that what he's proposing might be deemed a little too much too soon for the good townspeople of Cohasset.
Yeah, and I don't think the town can afford a negative vote on real substance. I mean, the organizational thrust or focus back in the fall, I was inclined to give it a buy for a lot of it because it was kind of reorganizing and shuffling. But if there's substantive change, this is going to require some very careful thought for unintended consequences and the will of the town. I mean, most people certainly don't have the aptitude. Well, aptitude is not, that's unfair. Don't have the attention span to go through 150 pages of zoning bylaws. I mean, God forbid. And
amen to that, Woody.
Yeah, and even I can't remember some of the provisions as for tonight. So we've got to be careful. really careful in this. And I don't know, is the committee working as a whole on this, or has this been sort of a
I think the committee, to varying degrees, has provided input. But I also think it's fair to say that Tom has put, by some margin, more effort and focus into the project than anybody else on the committee.
Yeah. And
I mean, I think, I think to some degree that's the way he's wired.
Yeah, I'm not the least bit surprised. I'm not the least bit surprised that he's very, very, very well intentioned. It's just that it's such a massive job that I doubt that any of us individually could tackle that and do much more than a B or B plus job on it. It's just it really requires a lot of eyes and time and stuff I would never think of. You or somebody else, Matt, will come up with, something I say absolutely spot on, but I never even thought about that.
No, I agree. I agree. Again, just my opinion, but I think that another route might have been to take the money the town had set aside for outside legal assistance and let someone like the judge with a lot of practical experience, given her background, adjudicating these types of disputes, to come up with something and then use that as a starting point. But that doesn't seem to be the way it's gone to some degree. I think Tom kind of felt that he might be in a better position to do the revision rather than the judge.
Well, I guess there are two approaches. You've articulated another. One approach is to improve on what we have, but it's a flawed document by anybody's estimation. So I don't know how much of that is rearranging the deck chairs. And another way to start would be from a fairly clean, objective standpoint. What should our bylaws include and not include? And they don't need to waste space in outdoor movie theaters or stuff like that. Horse racetracks. I mean, that's being snarky, but I mean, you know what I mean? There's just a bunch of stuff in there that's 70 years old that probably could not entirely be edited out. Editing won't help. A fresh look, I think, might have. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. But I worry that if it's either too complicated or people, as they always do, shuffle up to the microphone at town meeting and said, but what about this sentence that says that? And everybody says, oh my God.
I hear you.
You get too many of those, it's dead on arrival.
Yeah, I think, Woody, the point being too that a lot of times this is all taken as one lump. So if you get a little piece of it that doesn't fit, the whole lump goes down as a group instead of breaking it up into smaller changes. That's the concern.
I really thought we were going to probably be taking a section at a time and dealing with it. I mean, if there's some simple little 3-page section, fine, or whatever, deleting something entirely. But I don't know. Well, I will when and if asked, certainly pour through it. But I hear you, Mike. It's maybe not the way we should have envisioned going forward as a town.
Well, you run the town with the volunteers you have.
Yeah.
And so the reality is that Tom stepped up to the plate and volunteered, and he's grabbed it with both hands. And if some folks feel maybe he shook it a little too hard, well, then perhaps they should have stepped up to the plate. I'm not going to criticize Tom for volunteering his time and talent because he certainly put a lot of time and effort into.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's no question. But well, okay. I will see. Well, if there are open houses in some of this, or not open houses, but open meetings, I'll try to go if it's substantive. But he was due to present to the select board, you're saying, this week? Or?
Yeah, he was planning to do it tonight, but I guess the select board meeting was canceled. I'm not sure why.
I think
Weather.
I haven't stuck my head out, but I talked to Montana earlier, and you thought there was a possibility of a power failure.
Well, they're predicting, close to hurricane strength winds.
So
we
that might have been the smart move to postpone.
I hope we don't get that type of breeze, but if we do, a power outage is certainly a probability.
Well, you're from Nova Scotia. You're used to this stuff. All those hurricanes that sweep up. You're a tough guy.
It's Cohasset that seems to lose power at the drop of a hat.
I know. Oh, well, enough of this. Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Woody Chidick, aye.
Carol Higginson, aye.
Lee Darcey.
Mike Dickey, aye.
Matt Watkins, aye.
Okay, thanks everybody for showing up, and I hope everybody's at
Happy
home.
New Year.
Stay
Have
dry.
a good one, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.